We're back. I've missed you both so much, and I've missed you all as well. Nick Luck with you in Teddington, Southwest London, alongside Brittany Earton, not at her home in Los Angeles, but in steamy Long Island, ahead of the Suburban Stakes. Woo! The weekend is hot. You knew that, but he is trying not to perspire for the next hour in his beautiful flat in Brooklyn. Britt, how sweaty is it in New York this weekend?
Well, I'll be honest, I just landed maybe about an hour ago, so I haven't spent too much time outside in the sweltering heat. I mean, Mark, you can tell us, how hot is it in Brooklyn?
Oh, man, it is rough. This whole week has been sort of mid-90s, but the humidity has been building. So today we're getting the rain, and I'm hoping that that's going to break all that humidity up. But I went out earlier today, and it's like walking through just thick air. So we're hanging in there. But I think for 4th of July weekend, it's supposed to become a little bit milder. So I've got some fun plans for that.
Britt, you're there for the July 4th race day, right? This weekend, Win and You're In?
Yes. So we have 2 Win and You're In races coming up this weekend from Belmont Park. The first is the Suburban, which is on Saturday on NBC. That's a Win and You're In for the Breeders' Cup Classic, the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. And then on Monday, it's the John A. Nehru, and that's a Win and You're In for the Breeders' Cup Sprint. So lots of action this weekend. But, you know, we would be remiss not to wish a very special person a happy belated birthday. We got a little video that, you know, the fans would love to see, thanks to our creator, Pete Rotondo. So we got to roll it.
Yes.
You keep getting better like a fine wine. Cheddar, flannel sheets, classic cars, country singers, guitar, golden age movies, gigantic redwood trees, epic tales of long ago, reruns of the favorite show, priceless paintings too, but nothing ages better than you. So happy birthday to ageless you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, woohoo!
It was like the Saved by the Bell graphics in the end there.
What can I say?
Happy birthday to the one and only Nick Luck.
Wow. Happy birthday, Nick. That was a great representation of everyone I know you to be. So
on Monday I was 27. I mean, it's been a tough paper round, but you know, I'm very happy to be showered with lots of Facebook praise and whatnot. And that video was just the best from Mr. Ricardo. So I enjoyed
incredible.
That. Which was your favorite bit? I like the night in Shining Arm.
Happy birthday to you, my friend. Missed you, which we were having Chardonnay together.
I missed you. I'll tell you what, I missed you when I missed you. I missed you because we haven't done this show since Royal Ascot.
Right.
And
how was it? Without me.
Well, it wasn't as good, obviously. And it was the quality of the sport was pretty good during the course of the week. I thought there were enough good performances to keep you buoyed. 7 races a day was, I know this sounds weird to an American audience, but at Ascot, just stretching to the pushing past 6 o'clock, it was just feeling like kind of half a race too many. But I get it; it makes sense in the round to have seven a day. But I thought overall it was pretty good. The weather tried its best to ruin it late in the week, but you know, we got to the end, and there was, as I say, there were some good performances. Wesley Ward, that's the important news today. Got the Mark, I don't know if you followed this, American trainer Wesley Ward, who we've had on the show a ton of times, got the feature race on the Friday in the stewards room. So they DQ'd the winner. They gave it to Wesley's horse. The first past the post appealed that decision. The appeal was heard today, and they left the stewards result as it was. So Wesley kept the Commonwealth Cup. Wow. So he said they can celebrate all over again, have champagne all over again. It would have been an absolute travesty if they turned it over. And I said at the time I thought it was the right result. And,
you know, I think we're good luck on this show. How many times have we brought on a guest and then they've won at least, well, he had so many runners, but they've won a race afterwards. We had Wesley on. Golden Pal then won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. Brought him on again right before Ascot, and he goes and wins with Campanelli. Very exciting stuff.
Yeah. I mean, he fired a lot of bullets, but you know, he
Yeah.
sort of came up trumps when you least expected it, because he had all these horses run on the firmer ground earlier in the week. Then it didn't just rain, Brittany. I promise you would have been, I don't know what you would have been. I mean, you think we've seen?
I would have been unpleasant to sit next to you.
I mean, you think we've seen stuff at Churchill Downs on Derby Day that's biblical? This was, I mean, they as I said on the show, the animals were coming in 2 by 2. It was just ridiculous, and I honestly thought it's going to be the first time they call this off since 1964 because of the wet. But anyway, we got through it. It was fine. So grand.
Wow.
On we go. But I did miss you very much.
So we're shaking things up a little. We're shaking things up a little in the rundown today. We are so excited to have trainer Michael Stidham joining us. He is Mystic Guide in the Suburban, but you know, everyone's a little thirsty, right, Mark? I'm actually on the right time zone. It's 6 o'clock for me. So I think you kick it off with a bang, start a cocktail early in the show.
Let's do it. I'm parched here, so I'm ready to dive into it. And what a show we have for cocktails today, because we have 2 of the most famous or infamous cocktails that there are. We're going to talk about what I mean by that. But this first one is absolutely beyond iconic. The Sazerac cocktail is one of the most historic and influential drinks in the history of mixology. And for some time, it was actually considered to be the original American cocktail. Now, we're very blessed to have cocktail historian David Wondrick now doing all sorts of research through old newspapers. And now he can tell us that cocktails possibly existed even before the Sazerac. But nonetheless, this is an absolutely historic drink to learn how to make. So I'm very excited to get into it. A little bit of history as always first. So this drink really came about at the Sazerac Coffee House in New Orleans. Both of our drinks are going to be New Orleans classics today. And this drink was traditionally made with one specific cognac, which was Sazerac de Forges et Fils. It was, pardon my mispronunciation if I did, but this was a very specific brand of cognac, and that's where the cocktail actually got its name. So it also included absinthe. I'm going to talk about that in just a second. I'm sure we have some curious viewers, the whole absinthe deal, but also some sugar or simple syrup, and of course, Peychaud's bitters. It's the signature brand of bitters used in this particular cocktail. It was being made by an apothecary in New Orleans at the time named Antoine Amédée Peychaud. So lots of history to this drink, and it was an absolute success as soon as it came out. But naturally, over time, it had to evolve a little bit and change due to some pretty important historical factors. So the first one was the phylloxera epidemic in Europe, which was this nasty little insect that went around attacking all the grapevines and really had a devastating effect on the wine industry. And then as a result, also the cognac, the brandy industry too. So when that epidemic happened, we felt the effects here in the States as well. And bartenders had to reach for a more homegrown rye whiskey to replace in the recipe in place of that cognac. So that's why oftentimes you'll see a Sazerac cocktail now with rye in place of that traditional cognac. The next thing that happened is in 1912, we actually have a national ban on absinthe. So this ban was not lifted, believe it or not, until 2007. So for all of that time, you could not purchase absinthe in the United States. So why is that? Let's talk about that. Absinthe is a pretty notorious spirit, right? We all kind of get these images of green fairies or whatever sorts of craziness has kind of developed around this mystical spirit. But essentially,
Mark,
yes,
just butt in quickly. Absinthe percentage by volume, ABV percentage is what, like 70%?
Well, it's a really good question. So it can range between 45 to 60% by volume. Perhaps at one point it was as high as 70%. But it's a great question that you bring up, because we always hear these horror stories of what absinthe does to you, right? It makes you crazy. It makes you see things. And while there is some truth to that, because one of the main botanicals that's used in absinthe is wormwood, which does contain a chemical called thujone that can be a hallucinogenic, research has really shown that most of the effects people felt from absinthe was due to the high ABV, the high alcohol. So that's a very good point that you bring up. It's probably the main reason why people felt so crazy while they were having it. So before we go into making these cocktails, or this cocktail, I want to show you some quotes about absinthe to give you an idea of how people felt about this. Let's start with the temperance movement from 1907. You can already guess what they were going to say. So here they say, absinthe makes you crazy and criminal, provokes epilepsy and tuberculosis, and has killed thousands of French people. It makes a ferocious beast of man, a martyr of woman, and a degenerate of the infant. It disorganizes and ruins the family and menaces the future of the country. So how's that for a glowing review of absinthe? Now let's take a look at a slightly more poetic look. This is from Oscar Wilde. After the first glass of absinthe, you see things as you wish they were. After the second, you see them as they are not. Finally, you see things as they really are, and that is the most horrible thing in the world. So, you know, absinthe kind of got a little bit of a bad rap, but you can now purchase it in the States, and it has so minimal levels of thujone that you're not going to feel it. And yes, it's a little strong, but we're going to use it in a sparing manner.
I've never felt so inadequate.
So quick story.
Rosé.
Same. I went to Europe for my I think my high school trip. So I was graduating high school, went with a big group of people, and you could buy absinthe there. And I had just seen, I think, Moulin Rouge, and they drank absinthe and they started seeing green things. So I avoided that completely.
Exactly. I love this quote. So absinthe makes the heart grow fonder. Definitely true. Yeah, it's potent stuff. But let me show you how we're going to actually use it in the cocktail. This is one of I know. We're going to get to it right now. So this is one of those drinks that has some very specific preparation to it. It's, you know, something that if you see it being made wrong, you almost anticipate it not to be authentic. So let me show you the right way to do it. First thing is that we're going to start by chilling a rocks glass. Okay. So typically we would do this for, you know, a coupe glass or a martini glass when we're serving a cocktail up. In this case, we are going to be serving this drink stirred with ice, but then strained off the ice. So we're going to be serving it up, but it's always traditionally served in a rocks glass. So start by chilling your rocks glass with some ice, or you could put it in the freezer for a couple minutes. That's the very first step. Now we're going to start working on our cocktail. We're going to begin with those Peychaud bitters. So a signature color right here. It has an anise taste to them. If you want to kind of see an example of how iconic the Sazerac cocktail is, keep in mind that this is really one of the few drinks that actually calls for this particular type of bitters, and yet you will find it in almost every single bar that you go to, nationwide or elsewhere as well. So that's how popular this cocktail is, that it has its own brand of bitters that you have to use for it, and you're always going to find it in bars. So we're going to start with 2 dashes going directly into our cocktail shaker. You can see that color is popping right off the bat there, that beautiful pink color. And again, we're going to get those aromatics of anise from those bitters. Now, the next thing that we want to do is add some sugar. You know, traditionally, you could actually use a sugar cube and just kind of muddle that up. But I like using simple syrup because it integrates so quickly and easily into the cocktail. So we've got our easy 1-to-1 simple syrup here that we use all the time on this show. Just going to do a 1/2 ounce. We don't want to go crazy. We don't want this to be too sweet. So a 1/2 ounce going into our glass. All right, so this is why you want to make sure you chill your rocks glass first, right? This is getting nice and chilled while we're building this cocktail. And then by the time we're done, it is going to be perfect for our drink. Now we are going to add some Maker's Mark bourbon today. You know, traditionally it would be either rye or cognac, but we love our Maker's Mark here. So this is going to really allow some of those other flavors like the anise from the absinthe and from the bitters to shine. So I think this is going to be absolutely delicious. 2 ounces of our Maker's Mark bourbon.
This
going
is
into
our cocktail. I can already see it.
It is. It is a gorgeous color.
Question for you, Mark, from Terry Olga. Mark, where do you get all the exotic bitters you use in your cocktails?
That's a great question. You know, you can get a lot of them online. There are also specialty grocery stores that now really do feature a lot of these sort of, whether they're commercial brands of bitters or kind of small companies that are coming out. There's one store in New York that I love going to called Calusian's, which is on 28th and Lex. If you happen to live in the city, that's a great spot to go to find all sorts of bitters and culinary things. But if not, check online. You can actually order a lot of these things online. Keep in mind that bitters are classified as non-potable alcohol, so it's very easy to have it shipped to you.
Dark web or regular?
What is that?
Dark web or just regular?
Sorry, not dark web. No. Don't look up bitter on the dark web. Don't look up anything on the dark web. Okay, so now we are going to stir our cocktail with ice. let's go ahead and add some ice to our mixing glass here. And then we're going to get to that absinthe.
Molds, like in a circle. They look like the big circular or square ice molds.
Yeah, there is one ice kind of large 2 by 2 inch cube on the bottom. And
is that
this
like
is sort of
or a cube?
This is a cube on the bottom, and this one is actually left over from a bag of ice that I got at the store. But you know how you always get those big chunks that don't want to break down? Those are really great to stir your cocktails with. So I sometimes reserve those for these purposes. So just stir this up. This is a very easy cocktail when you think about the number of ingredients. This is like an old-fashioned, basically. We've got our bitters, our sugar, and our spirit.
Love
of course,
it.
we're gonna add a little bit more nuance to it in just a second with our absinthe. So you'll see that I already tossed out the ice. The glass is nice and chilled. Now you can do a couple things here. You could either take your absinthe and just put a little dash into your glass and swirl it around and then toss it out. So that's called rinsing the glass with your absinthe. Or if you want to be super fancy and you don't want to waste any of your absinthe, you can put it in a little atomizer. So what this does is this is going to create an even spray that you can spray into your glass like so. I don't know if you can see it. Little spritz of absinthe that is now inside the glass, and we're not wasting any because we're not pouring it out afterwards.
And the best thing is it doubles as hand sanitizer in these.
It really does, especially with absinthe, right? It's going to be a little fragrant, but it's still going to be, maybe you could spritz a bit into your mouth too. I don't know. All right, so let's strain into the glass. Remember, this is served up, which means that we've chilled it, but we're straining it off the ice. The one difference here that makes this kind of unique is that we're serving it up in a rocks glass, which is a little unique. This is one of kind of the defining characteristics of this drink. Now, another sort of finicky thing about the Sazerac is that you do want to express a lemon peel onto the surface of the drink, but traditionally you don't put the lemon peel inside. It's just kind of one of those things. So we express it, make sure you get those lemon oils and rub that around the rim. And then you discard this peel. If anything, it's okay to kind of take something like this and hang it off the side of the glass, but we try not to actually have it resting inside the glass itself.
No.
So you've got this beautiful Sazerac cocktail here.
Ooh, that looks strong. I mean, it looks delicious, but it looks potent.
It is a potent cocktail, but truly classic.
What effect does that lemony rim have on the experience of drinking the cocktail?
Yeah, so the lemon essences that we express onto the surface of the drink are going to lift up the cocktail with some of that citrus aroma. But now by having this on the rim, if you did do that, keep in mind the way that you're going to be drinking this. You're going to be putting your mouth to the glass, and your nose is going to line up with the garnish itself. So as you inhale some of those aromatics, it'll remind you of the citrus essence that you expressed onto the surface of the glass. Yeah, it's a functional garnish, but again, it's not necessary. You don't absolutely have to have this right here. This is a very purist way to serve the Sazerac, just like that. Delicious cocktail, a true classic, and one of two classics from New Orleans that we're going to be making tonight. Cheers, guys.
Well, that is fitting because our guest tonight has spent a lot of time in New Orleans.
He has, and
awesome.
He is a man who has reached the top of his profession. He's got enormous experience. He is now at the very peak of his powers, courtesy of a whole slew of horses that are running in stakes races, some of whom are entered this weekend. And the most high profile of those gave him his most high profile international success this year in the Dubai World Cup 2021 in the Godolphin Blue Mystic Guide. He is, of course, Mike Stidham. I think he is going to be able to join us now. Mike,
yes.
Good afternoon.
Hey, Mike.
Mike, we need to touch on this first because we have had other Mikes and Michaels on the show. What works for you, Mike or Michael?
Well, Michael is really, what my true name is, so I like Michael the best. Yeah.
We will go with Michael then. Okay, what is the beverage of choice next to you? It looks like some delicious red.
I'm a big cab drinker, but one of my favorites is an Amarone, Italian wine, and I have a Mossy Amarone tonight, and it's really, really nice.
Nice. And a good, what I like there, Michael, is a very healthy sized glass as well. No
there you
messing
go.
around.
Gotta
No
have
messing
it.
around. That should last us right to the end.
Absolutely. And more where that came from.
There you go. Locked and
Perfect.
loaded.
This will be longer than an hour show, and that's okay.
Wow.
The beautiful painting behind you, Michael. Who is that?
That's interesting because that was sent to us by Godolphin after we won the World Cup, and that is Mystic Guide as a baby in stride with his mom.
Wow.
It's a beautiful, beautiful picture.
And is that at Darley in Lexington? Is that at John O'Bell?
Yes, at John Bell. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. Michael, how did the association with Godolphin first come about?
So I was actually training for Stonerside when Darley Sheikh Mohammed bought out Stonerside, and at the time we had some of the Stonerside horses that they had bought, and the rule at the time was any of the trainers that had some of the Stonerside horses, they were able to continue on with the horses that they had until those horses were retired or no longer racing. And one of the fillies that we had was Tizaquina. And we actually, not long after the acquisition, we won the Distaff Mile turf race on Derby Day for Darley. So that kind of got my foot in the door. And then after Tizaquina retired and the other horses that we had were gone, it was about, I think, maybe 5 years later, we got a call from Jimmy Bell and Dan Pride, and they explained to Hillary and I that they were planning on making some changes as far as spreading the horses out, having a West Coast string, a Midwest string, and New York, where they had basically been mostly New York for most part. And we were going to be included in the new trainers that they were going to bring on board. And it was music to our ears. Absolutely.
It's fitting, as the dam of Mystic Guide is Music Note, who was an incredibly talented runner in her own right. Take me way back, though, Michael. When did, I know your father, a jockey and a trainer, was there always a passion for horse racing and always the desire to get involved?
So without a doubt, my dad was a jockey, and I grew up around the racetrack. My best memory of my younger years was I was 12 years old. My father and Bill Hardtack had become friends when they were jockeys. And then when my dad retired from riding, Bill Hardtack had gotten so big in the game, he actually needed someone to manage his whole life for him, be his business manager. So my dad took over that role. And in 1969, Bill was riding Majestic Prince. I was 12 years old and got to go to the Derby. Bill wins his 5th Kentucky Derby on Majestic Prince. And I get to go in the jocks room. All the reporters are around Bill. Bill calls me over and says, "Come here, Mike." And I had a tie on at the time, and he signed it to my pal Mike from Bill Hardtack and Majestic Prince. And that was that locked me in. I was in for life at that point.
Where's that tie now?
I've got it. Yeah, I've got it in safekeeping.
A special story.
I'd love to know, Michael, what Kentucky Derby Day 1969 was like. I realize now that in a non-COVID year, in a normal year, there's 180,000 people there or whatever. But what was it like, kind of atmospherically? What was it like in terms of the way that it gripped the nation then?
It was amazing. I mean, the crowds were, you couldn't even move in the grandstand. There was, the people embraced racing so much. Everybody loved the sport, loved the horses, knew the jockeys and the trainers. And it was a great time in racing. And then I got very lucky as I grew up. We moved to Miami, and I grew up in Miami Springs. Now we're in the 70s. And I'm going through school, and I've got Calder Racetrack that was, just being started, Hialeah, which we lived like 2 miles away, and Gulfstream. And the 70s in Florida was the peak of racing. I mean, you had a firm. I mean, Aladar, who raced against a firm. You had, Leroy Jolly, John Veach, and I'm out there in the mornings and getting to see these guys. And I was like starstruck with, seeing these big horses come in for winter racing at Hialeah. And it was amazing. And then my next step after the 70s, I start out in the 80s in Southern California, and everybody knows what Southern California in the 80s. As a matter of fact, Britain had started, I think, in like the mid 80s, and I was there, and so I knew Peter pretty well. And you had Bill Shoemaker, Lafitte Pinkhai, Eddie Delahousie. You had Charlie Whittingham and Laz Barrera holding court at Clocker's Corner every morning. And, if you couldn't pick up and learn things from these guys, then, you were never going to know anything. And that's where I learned most of what I do today, watching Charlie Whittingham bring horses up, his stake horses up to work out. And he was such like a military sergeant about things. He would get there 15 minutes before the main track opened. He'd go to the training track and warm them up. So the minute the main track opened, he could be jogging down and go right out for his workouts. I mean, things like that were just, you don't see that anymore. And those guys taught me so much just by watching. Richard Mandela was my hero back in those days. He kind of took me under his wing and taught me so much and helped me. And to this day, he still has, been a guy that's helped me out. John Sadler, same thing. Guys like that have been huge in helping me in my career.
So many people talk about how different the industry is now than it was back then. The times you're mentioning, the 70s and the 80s, really the heyday of racing with these incredible people. Mary Jane McKittrick saying an impressive group of mentors. How much of that and what you learned then do you bring into your training regime today? How much do you still see from the 70s and 80s when you learned?
I mean, it's everything I do to this day. I haven't really changed anything in my whole system. I remember when I left California I left Northern California in the early 90s. I went up to Northern California for a couple of years, and then I made the transition back to the Midwest. And I remember going into the fairgrounds and asking if I could have a schooling time to school my horse. And they looked at me and they said, "What is schooling?" And I said, "I want to school my horse in the paddock." And they didn't have a clue. And those are like what I'm talking about. Those are the things that you learned in California from those guys that were Hall of Famers, masters, that, in other parts of the country, they didn't even know it existed. And to this day, Tom Amos's assistant always says to me, "Thanks, Stidham. You're the guy that caused me to have to start schooling horses to make me work harder." So many things that I learned early on and from the 70s and 80s that I still carry to this day for sure.
And you talk about Richard Mandela and talking about the trainers even before that who were massive influences on you, like Charlie Whittingham. Has that informed how many horses you want as well, Michael? The way you want to approach business as well as the way you actually train them. So you want to give that more individual attention to the animal as well as just trying to build up hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of runners.
Well, I mean, look, first and foremost is the care of the horse and knowing what to do with the horse when you get them. But the one thing that I did learn when I made the transition to Kentucky and New Orleans, and I trained at Arlington, was it was probably in the late 90s. I walked into Dudley's in Lexington one night, and I saw trainers that I had mentioned earlier. These guys are Hall of Famers, and I'm looking at them, and they only had a few horses at this time. And I said to myself, "There's something wrong here. What is it?" these guys are Hall of Fame trainers. Why don't they have any horses? And it was right at the time when the internet and things were changing, social media was starting. And, we changed some of our program as far as the way we communicate with our owners, with updates. We send out videos to the owners to let them see their horses working out. And, nowadays everybody's doing that. But that was one of the big things that Hillary and I changed in our operation that helped us, accumulate to where, we have as many horses as we have today to train for those reasons. Not only good horsemanship, but, good skills in communicating with owners, because the one thing that owners complain most about is trainers that don't, communicate with them, let them know when their horse is running or how their horse is doing. Those are the things that, owners don't like. So anyway, those are the things that I picked up along the way and have helped me through today.
You've mentioned Hillary a couple of times, Hillary Pridham, who has been an incredible asset to your team. Tell our viewers a little bit about how much she's helped you and your barn.
Well, she's been an amazing part of the barn. She actually, I call her the glue that holds everything together, because, she communicates with the employees, the owners. She handles all the shipping. We have to ship horses every day from Fairhill to race, and she's basically oversees all of that stuff. And without her, the operation wouldn't be what it is. She's retired now from actually breezing. She used to breeze horses every morning and gallop every morning. She's retired from that, but she's out on the pony every morning. She's there, at 4:30 checking legs every morning. And so those are the things that keep an operation going, and she's the big part of that. Absolutely.
And Michael, of all the places you've trained, and that that you've not left any track untouched pretty much, or any area untouched in these decades. Tell us a little bit about training at Fairhill and what advantage that confers on you and your horses.
So Fairhill, I always say that if a horse doesn't do well at Fairhill, they're not going to do well anywhere. It's it is one of the most beautiful training facilities I've ever been to. You've got the Tapeta track, and then outside of that, you've got a dirt track. You've got grass gallops, big fields that we take the horses out in the back and gallop out in the grass. Fillies that won't relax on the main track, that are always nervous and pulling and tying up. You take them out back to the grass fields, and they drop the bit and relax. And a lot of them will, get over, the tying up issues. And Bruce Jackson has his rehab and facility where he's got the hyperbaric chamber, he's got cold water spa, aqua treads, salt rooms. He's got everything there. So the place is equipped to handle just about anything that you need for a horse, and it's really horse friendly, because long dirt paths to the racetrack that you walk along, big grass fields where you can take horses out and graze, and it's a phenomenal place and a great facility to train a horse and do well with them.
I have to ask, Michael, because I read an article when we were prepping for the show, and it had said, after a strong 2019, trainer Stidham not scaling down just yet. Was there a point in time in your career where you thought, okay, I'm done?
Well, let's put it this way. Hillary and I often talk about that we're not going to be the kind of people that trainers that, wind up being in their 70s and on a cane or walking around, still in the shed row. That there's going to be a point where we want to retire from the 365 a year, getting up early and having to be there every day. There's going to be a time when we want to enjoy our life. And as a trainer, you're constantly on call, and there's not really a lot of time when you can just, get away and not, have to worry about those things. So, I'm not saying when it'll be, but we're not going to be doing this forever. Let's put it that way.
Michael, I think you're
I love it.
I think one of your daughters has been in touch.
Yes. You have 3 daughters, Michael?
Yeah.
I have 3 daughters, Stephanie, Samantha, and Camille, and they are the light of my life. And my 2 older daughters, Stephanie and Samantha, they actually moved to New Orleans, where I have a home there, so I get to spend a lot of time with them. And Camille, my youngest daughter, is 21, and she's going into her senior year in college at Chapman University out in California.
Do they enjoy? I was just going to say, because Stephanie is watching.
Stephanie's been in touch. Says, "Go Team Stidham." Cheers, Dad.
Those are my girls.
How much do they enjoy racing and the horses? Because obviously, coming from a daughter of a trainer, it was hard to not.
Well, look, none of them have ever loved the grind, the daily grind, but they sure do love coming out for the big races and enjoying that stuff. And I don't blame them for that. But the best thing, and I wish that I was able to show it to everybody on video, but when we won the World Cup, they were all together in New Orleans. It was Camille's 21st birthday that week. And all 3 of the girls were together with their friends, and they took a video of right as Mystic Guide was crossing the finish line in Dubai, and they were screaming and crying. And anytime that I'm just a little bit down, I put that video on, and it makes my day a little bit better.
Oh, that's fantastic.
We need to get that video from you and show it, because that sounds really special.
It really was. Yeah. It really was. Absolutely.
If anyone can send it to any of our production team, Haley or whoever, then please do, because we'll show it before the end of tonight. Stephanie, if you're watching and you have it, try and get somewhere, figure out somewhere.
Somehow.
Stephanie could probably get it done. I'm not quite as savvy.
Britt, do you want to give out your cell phone number here, or shall I?
Why don't you do that? Let's have you handle getting the video out there. We're going to have a cocktail with Mark in just a second, and I really want to delve into. Before we move on, just one second, I need to ask Michael a little bit of advice, because he's a few years in front of me in the kind of being a dad to 3 daughters deal. So, Michael, any tips for me? Mine are 10, 7, and 3. So.
Just relax and enjoy, because it's the greatest thing that will ever happen to you. Trust me. They're, like I said, they are the greatest. They're the light of my life, and every time that I can spend with them is a special day for me. And I'm sure it will be for you too. Enjoy.
Cheers to that. That was beautiful. Michael, there's so many, I'm not going to segue yet, but because that's a whole nother segment. But you talk so much about family and their support. This industry has so many ups and downs. So how important is it to have that support from your family and your 3 girls there through those ups and downs?
For me, family is everything. As a matter of fact, my mother in August will turn 88, and we are having a family reunion where about 20 of us, family and friends, are going to get together in Vegas in a few weeks, and we're going to celebrate Mystic Guide. We're going to celebrate my mother 88th birthday, Camille turning 21. We're going to do it all, and we're going to spend a few days together. But for me, family has always been first and everything to me, and I've always had my mom, my brother Steve, my sister Cindy have always been there for me through my entire career. And, everybody has been great. And what meant so much to Hillary and I after we won the World Cup was we had so many people that were so happy for our success over there. People that I didn't even know that well. I remember telling everybody that after the World Cup, I had 387 text messages on my phone to answer from people. And it was just the outpouring of people that really were so sincerely happy for us was amazing.
Well, that sentiment is echoed from both Nick and I, because it's so exciting to see someone hit that pinnacle really of the sport. So first and foremost, Michael, congratulations on that big victory. Is Mark ready for another cocktail? Because I think we should cheers to Mystic Guide and that incredible win in the Dubai World Cup.
Absolutely. So Michael, it's probably going to be a minute before I have the cocktail done, but cheers first and foremost to you. Beautiful stories. And great to hear some stories about New Orleans as well, because it is a fantastic tie-in to our next cocktail here. Let me ask you straight off the bat. Have you had a Ramos Gin Fizz?
I have not. Hillary is actually the one that really enjoys. She loves her old fashions, and she's had a Sazerac, but she likes that. I'm the wine guy.
Keep it simple. I don't blame you. Well, you know what's
all that stuff you were doing, Mark. It made me think that I was back in New Orleans, because those are the kind of drinks that they make at all the great spots in New Orleans.
I take that as a huge compliment, because, as we were mentioning, it's such a cultural center for cocktails. And actually, I think I mentioned this before, that's where the Museum of the American Cocktail is in New Orleans, and they do an annual award show for bartenders and bar managers and brand ambassadors called Tales of the Cocktail, the Spirited Awards. So it's such a great city, great supporter of mixology and cocktails. So I take that as a huge compliment. Thank you, Michael.
Absolutely. And great job too, Mark. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. So, we were talking about the Sazerac earlier, which I was saying is such a famous cocktail. So the Ramos Gin Fizz, maybe we could consider it one of the most infamous cocktails, not because it's not delicious, but because it takes so much to make. There's a lot of nuance to this drink. I didn't learn it until I moved to the 21 Club. Someone ordered it for me. I had no idea what it was. And then one of the veteran bartenders sort of coached me through it. But here's a couple reasons why it's somewhat infamous for bartenders. First, it has so many ingredients, 8 in total. We've got gin, count them, lemon juice, lime juice, heavy cream, orange blossom water, egg whites, club soda. I missed one, right? Simple syrup as well. All these different ingredients, which make it a bit of a challenge. Yeah, just to get it all together. But then there's how long it takes to prepare it, which traditionally it was supposed to be shaken for a whopping 12 minutes. I'm not joking.
Does this just go straight into the artery? No bypass.
It goes directly. It's the fast lane. Yes. Yeah.
Cream,
yeah. No, it
it
kind of is like, I've heard it compared to sort of a gin-based non-coconut pina colada. It's a mix between tart and creaminess. It is extremely refreshing, and it is sort of known as a breakfast drink, which I'll tell you is super ironic, because Henry C. Ramos, the guy that invented it, he was a teetotaler. He actually did not really like alcohol, and at his bar, he actually closed at 8.
Teetotaler?
Teetotaler, someone that didn't drink. Yeah,
like you.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't drink alcohol so much, or at least does not promote any type of drunkenness or anything like that. So Henry Ramos used to close his bar at 8 p.m. every single night. He used to talk to his regular customers frequently to make sure that they weren't getting tipsy. So it was actually known that you could not get drunk at the Ramos bar. But he ironically came up with this quintessential New Orleans cocktail, which is just fantastic. And it was so popular that at times he had to overstaff. He had to bring in teams of bartenders, or they were known as shaker boys, to shake this drink. They would pass it off in relay fashion, and literally they would take turns shaking this cocktail so that their arms didn't get tired. I'm going to show a picture right now.
For horse. Shaker boys.
Shaker boys, yeah.
I'm not sure that had passed the censors, would it?
You never know.
Yeah. Michael, I've heard that sometimes you'll dress up for Mardi Gras. Is that true?
Oh yeah, we do that. We do that quite a bit.
Okay.
I'll let out something. Tom Amos always goes to the paddock on Fat Tuesday in a costume. Him and his wife Colleen, and they are a big hit on
awesome.
At the racetrack on Fat Tuesday. It's
I would
it's
imagine.
a great time. It's an amazing
awesome.
place.
All these photos, indeed.
I know. Yeah, we definitely need a photo of that. Well, take it back to 1915. Mardi Gras season 1915. Henry Ramos had to staff 35 bartenders behind his bar to keep up with the demand for these Ramos Gin Fizzes. Maybe if you can make in the main picture here, you'll see a little bit more this huge line of bartenders behind the bar there. But it was quite
Hang on. How many bartenders are there?
35 bartenders. 35 bartenders. Let's see if we can get at the big picture by any chance. There you go. So a huge, massive team to make this drink. Now, these days, bartenders do not actually take 12 minutes to do it, although I have seen some incorporate a paint shaker, like literally what you use to shake cans of paint up. They've employed that behind the bar to help facilitate the process. But we're going to make it today, hopefully in about 2 to 3 minutes. Once we get the ingredients in the tin itself, then I'm going to encourage you guys to keep talking because I don't want you to just watch me shake it for 3 minutes. But let's build the cocktail first here.
Well, Nick will be ready with all of Michael's stats.
Oh, if there was ever a time to read off stats, it would be during this cocktail because I'm going to be shaking here forever. But first, let's build the cocktail. What I want you to do is...
Did you say it was a 12-minute shake?
It is, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do about 2 minutes all told, but it's still going to be a good workout.
Well, your wrist is going to pretty much drop off after a 12-minute shake, Mark, isn't it?
Bicep, Nick. Anyway, all right, so let's go ahead and build our cocktail in the small tin first. What I want you to do is both lemon and lime juice. It's one of the unique things about this cocktail. So we're going to be doing 1/2 ounce of lemon juice and 1/2 ounce of lime juice. I'm going to do this directly into my measuring tool here. This is going to be that sour element that we're going to need to cut through some of the richness that we're going to develop later on in this cocktail. So I'm just going to go ahead and build this in the same measuring tool here. 1/2 ounce of lemon, top it off to 1 ounce with the lime first and then the lemon. So this is our acidic element.
He's getting all flustered again, Brittany.
Nick says, John Patrick says, Nick, you should be in the kitchen trying to reproduce what Mark is doing.
Well, we did this. Well, Michael,
we need to bring that back.
We did this a couple of weeks.
I would love to see you make this particular cocktail, though.
I got in a terrible mess, and I had egg white everywhere, and it was just,
this one's at a whole other level, let me tell you. But yeah, we've got our lemon juice and our lime juice. Let's balance it out with some simple syrup. I want 1 ounce of simple syrup going into our tin. All right. That's 3 ingredients so far.
If you've missed the last 74 episodes of this show, you'll not know that simple syrup is simply water and sugar mixed, and you can keep some of it in your refrigerator for a rainy day.
What am I doing here? He's got it.
Michael, we've turned into bartenders. I'm a wino like you, but now I have this bar cart full of different things to make cocktails.
Well, here's another exotic ingredient, though, that I haven't used before. This is orange blossom or orange flower water. Hopefully you can see that. It's almost like this tropical, perfumey infused water that really lifts this cocktail up. You don't see this in a lot of drinks. It's one of those aspects of the Ramos Gin Fizz that really stands out. So orange blossom water, you're really probably going to have to find that online unless you have a specialty grocery store close by. But if you get 1 bottle, it's going to last you forever. We only want a small, I would say 3 dashes or the bottom of a cap, just the bottom of the cap there. We don't want too much, otherwise it gets too perfumey. Okay, so now we need some gin because, of course, it is a gin fizz, a Ramos Gin Fizz. We're looking for 2 ounces.
Dorian Dickinson says Nick has grown into a great bar back for Mark.
I like that.
There you
go. Dorian's spot on there.
Are you using Bombay Sapphire there?
I am, yep.
I went around the factory the other day.
Did you really?
Yeah. So my mother lives about half a mile away from where Bombay Sapphire is made.
It's beautiful. Did you get to do the tour, Nick?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. If you're ever here, I'll take you.
Yeah, I would love to go with you. I did go once when I did the Bombay Sapphire competition. They actually brought us out to London. I was able to go to the distillery. But I think going with you would be, I don't want to say better company than the people I went with, but it would be equally good and probably more entertaining. I'll say that.
Well, yeah, it would. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys. So that's pretty much it for.
Ready for the shake.
back to the shake. So that's what we're putting in this tin. In this tin, we've got lemon juice, lime juice, simple syrup, orange flower water, and we've got our gin. Now, in our large tin, I put 1 large cube of ice. And what I want to do is put an ounce of heavy cream over that. The main reason for this is, especially when it's very hot right now in the kitchen, if I put this heavy cream and it sits too long with the acid that's in the other tin, it will start to break down and curdle. So what I like to do is add this heavy cream on top of the ice in the large shaker, kind of separating them until we're going to shake it. Okay, so this is time for the first shake. This is going to be to chill it, so I'll leave you to talk some stats. What we're going to do is, after I do this preliminary shake, we are going to do a dry shake with an egg white to emulsify the ingredients, and then we're going to top it with soda. But for right now, guys, let me start with the first minute.
I'm not going to lie, Mark, this is the longest cocktail you've ever spent making.
Well, you know what? I had a feeling it was going to be this one. It takes some doing. But here we go with that first shake.
All right. Well, how long are you going to take this for?
1 minute.
So.
Oh, it's just forever, right? Can we talk some horses while he shakes?
It's just 1 minute. Start reading off the stats.
All right. Well, 1 second.
I'll mute myself.
Yeah. So, Michael, this is something that Nick started doing with all of our guests, is when Mark was shaking away, poor guy, we would read off all of the wonderful stats and accolades from our special guests.
But I thought, Michael, that it might be quite nice for our viewers tonight for you to just give us a couple of lines on some of the horses that you that have kind of shaped your career. And so I figured we maybe start with Tu Altezano.
Tu Altezano was a great story because I bought a horse called Manzotti in France for my.
Was your first graded stakes winner, right?
Exactly. And so anyway, the idea was to bring him over to the United States. He was by Nijinsky out of a Tom Rolfe mare, royally bred, and if we could make him a stakes winner in the States, we could make a stallion out of him. And Mr. Goodman, Harold Goodman, who gave me my start in the business from Texas, he was the one that asked me to go over and find him a horse that could possibly stand in Texas. So anyway, Manzotti came over. He won a few stakes. He became a stallion. And out of his first crop of only 10 mares bred to him by Mr. Goodman came Tu Altezano. So wow. It was probably one of the most gratifying because I trained the father, and the daughter became my first grade 1 winner. So
I was just going to ask, did you think that he would be a good sire at the time?
You know what? He was bred so well that I thought that he did have a chance to be that. But like I said, he never really got the opportunity to take it further because Mr. Goodman, he only wanted to breed his own mares to him. He didn't want to make him a commercial stallion. And in doing so, to have a grade 1 winner in your first crop was amazing. So I think he could have been a really good sire. Yes.
Can we have a moment? Poor Mark.
He's still shaking. He's still shaking. He's sweating. He's shaking.
I'm done. So what you guys didn't see is I actually put the spring from a Hawthorne strainer in there to kind of whip it up a little bit, and an egg white. So the only thing that I put in after I removed the ice from that first shake was the Hawthorne strainer and an egg white. All right.
God, you're actually panting.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot. It's a workout.
So everyone knows, full disclosure, Mark chooses the cocktails he is going to.
I'm going to put a little chilled club soda into the bottom of our highball glass here. And now I'm going to pour this Ramos Gin Fizz directly and slowly on top.
Oh, wow. That might be the strangest looking drink I've ever seen as well.
We got a good foam.
What color is it?
It's white.
Pure white. How about this, Nick? Dorian Dickinson says, 8 ingredients, 12 minutes of shaking. This is the Queen Alexandra Stakes of drink making.
Oh, that's good. That's good. For anyone who's not familiar with that, the Queen Alexandra Stakes is 2 3/4 miles at Royal Ascot. It took 5 minutes and 22 seconds to run this year, which is pretty ridiculous. You mentioned Tizaquina at the beginning of the show as well, and that was kind of the first one that really kind of struck me as a filly that just maybe took you to another level at the back end of the noughties.
It really did. Tizaquina was kind of a naughty child when she came into us. Hillary kind of took her under her wing, really worked with her, did a lot with that filly. She was the type of filly that as a 2-year-old, she flipped in the gate, schooling in the morning. We were worried that we would ever even get her to the races. Hillary did an amazing job with her, and, she was a grade 2 winner, and, definitely one of the fillies that took me to that next level.
Mark, what are you doing?
I was spooning a little bit of the extra foam on top. So this is the trademark of a good Ramos Gin Fizz, is that the foam should be able to protrude over the top of the glass. So hopefully I can show you here.
Oh,
It's got that nice dome on top.
Do it in front of the other camera so we can see the side angle.
Yeah.
There you go.
Look at that.
So that is our Ramos Gin Fizz. The other test is that if you can take a straw and have it kind of stand in the middle, like so, then you've got a good meringue-like foam.
That's impressive.
This is it, and I apologize it took so long, but this is absolutely one of the most difficult drinks to make in bartending, one of the longest drinks. Yeah. So I kind of saved it for a great episode. This one's for you, Michael.
Mark, New Orleans is calling you.
Yeah. I'm going to hop on the plane. It might be cooler than New York City. I don't know.
You can name your own price in New Orleans the way you make drinks.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Michael. Well, cheers to you. Thank you guys for bearing with me.
No,
Michael,
really, Mark, cheers to you, because that was an incredibly impressive bit of bartender mixology.
Next time we go to Mark's place, wherever that place may be, whichever year, we're all walking in there, the three of us, and we say we want 3
Ramos Gin Fizzes.
And we'll time them to see how long it takes.
There you go.
So, surprise, we've got a video that everyone will want to see.
Get in.
So, big thank you to Stephanie for sending this over. Whenever it's ready, queued up by our producers, because now's the time where we really delve into the great Mystic Guide. Let's see that celebration.
Have we got it?
The anticipation is building. Can you feel it?
I'm on the edge of my seat.
Drum roll, please.
This is brilliant.
Let's go!
Wow.
Oh my God.
Honestly, that makes me tear up, because I can only imagine the emotions everyone was feeling.
That was Camille, my 21-year-old, crying in the middle of the room. And I want to say one more thing. My middle daughter, Samantha, is getting married in November in New Orleans, so you all are invited.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Michael.
And Mark,
I'll come ready to shake those Ramos Gin Fizzes. Absolutely.
Someone think of an excuse for me to get to New Orleans in November.
Come on.
Anything.
Nick, after the Breeders' Cup, just stay.
Yeah, Delmar straight back to New Orleans. Yeah, you've got it. I did want to ask, when we were talking about the horses and the great horses, and it all transitioned then up north from there into the 2010s. And the grade 1 horses initially were fillies and mares. Were you one of those trainers who started to get a reputation for being good with fillies? You know, when they say, "Oh, he's great, he trains a filly great," and it becomes a sort of compliment and a bit of a damning with faint praise at the same time.
I did actually. I did get kind of a reputation where fillies were kind of my forte. You know, a lot of that has to do with just the horses that you get. I really honestly believe we've done really well with turf horses also. So Mystic Guide is kind of an outlier for me. To have a really, really top dirt horse is something that I haven't done that often. I'm just glad I'm along for the ride. That's all I can say. He's an amazing animal, and I've never been around a horse quite like him before.
What was your initial impression of Mystic Guide? Because he really, as of late, has kicked it into high gear.
Well, initially, we usually get the 2-year-olds from Godolphin in around May, right after the Derby. But Mystic Guide was held behind. He had a few little, just maturing issues. So they held him up, and we didn't get him till probably around like end of October, November. And we didn't know what to think. We just thought, well, here's a horse that just wasn't keeping up, and they were going to send him in late. And the first time we worked him, Hillary came back and said, wow, one of those kind that just wowed you from the beginning. Mm-hmm. And the only reason we sprinted him in his first start was that week was the Risen Star weekend at the fairgrounds. Our choices for him were 6 furlongs or 1 1/8 miles. And I just didn't feel like 1 1/8 miles for a first time starter was the right thing. We sprinted him, and he came flying late to be third. But from then on, it was like just amazing. I mean, he definitely showed his talents from early on.
Just a complete natural. Just found everything straightforward.
Yeah, and he's a real man. He lets you know in the mornings. We at Fairhill, we have a big sand pen for him to roll in. He goes out for his gallop, comes back. We put his polos and bell boots on to protect his legs, but we take him out there. He rolls, and when he comes out of that sand pen, you better hold on, because he is gonna. It's like you're flying a kite with the way he's dragging you around there. So TC, my assistant, handles him and does a great job. I've got a great staff that really, a lot of people that have been with me a long time that are a big part of my success. So I want to thank them also for everything that they've done to get me where I'm at.
It's such a team atmosphere. Sorry, Nick, go ahead.
No, sorry, Britt. I was just going to say he was quite an unusual horse. He had quite an unusual profile for a horse to go to the World Cup as a favored horse from the US, because a lot of them it's their crowning moment. They do it after they've achieved everything else. They've won their Breeders' Cup, or they've won a Triple Crown race, or they've won a Jockey Club Gold Cup, or whatever. For him, you feel like he went to Dubai, he won the race, but we might only be scratching the surface. Is that the way you feel as well?
Well, originally, the plan was for possibly Maxfield to go to Dubai. And then that got changed, and they detoured Maxfield to Santa Anita. And I got a call from Jimmy Bell that said, look, there's no pressure on you. Mystic Guide had just won the Razorback, and he had run 108 buyer. He said, no pressure on you, and you are the one, you and Hillary will make the final decision on this. But Maxfield's going to Santa Anita. The door's open if you want to go for it with Mystic Guide. And it took us about 30 seconds to make that decision.
Why is that? Why are you so confident in his chances that it was a 30-second decision?
We had watched him develop as a 3-year-old, late in his 3-year-old year. He won the Jim Dandy, and then he got beat, less than a length in the Jockey Club Gold Cup. We knew that he was really coming to himself, and then we gave him that little break from the end of his 3-year-old year to the beginning of his 4-year-old, and we just saw him blossom before our eyes. And it was a no-brainer to go to Dubai, and what a trip. I mean, just amazing.
We're going to watch this replay back. But Michael, was this your first foray outside of the US? And if so, what was that like for you?
It was an eye opener for me, because so many things that go on over there in Dubai that are so different, foreign to what we do in the United States. For example, the quarantine barn that you're in is a 2-mile walk one way from the barn to the track to train, and 2-mile walk back. So that's completely different than what we do over here. You know, most racetracks are, you know, a short walk to the track, and you gallop for 15 minutes and you're back at the barn within a half an hour. This is a over an hour and a half process to just go out and gallop. So there was a lot of things different. I must say that, you know, the way they do it over there, the way Sheikh Mohammed has it set up, the racetrack is the most amazing accommodations for the horses. The barn is air conditioned, big, clean stalls, total opposite of what we get here in the United States at racetracks. You know, most of the barns are falling down and, you know, in disrepair. So totally different. I wish some of the American racetrack owners would check that out and maybe think about making some of those changes.
Michael, what are you thinking at this point in time during the race? What's going through your head?
Well, there was so much turmoil in the post parade and the loose horses. I was a wreck. I thought we were in trouble because Mystic Guide had gotten so wound up. But when he got good position down the backside, was laying right off the leaders, and then, you know, was head and head for the lead, it was just a feeling like, you know, like I was on a cloud. It was amazing. It was tremendous. Yeah.
Unbelievable performance.
There were never too many moments of worry. I mean, I think we all went into that World Cup thinking, oh, come on, we need a horse to stamp his or her authority on this. And he surely did that. I think the eventual winning margin was 3 3/4 lengths, but I think he was value for a right bit more than that. Michael, how do you view this season now, beginning Saturday with the Suburban? How are you picturing it moving forward if everything goes smoothly for the next few weeks?
Well, obviously, you know, we need to run good in this race, which I feel that we will. From there's going to be decisions to be made on what the next race would be, whether we have 1 or 2 more races, and then hopefully into the Breeders' Cup. And we've got a couple of different choices. I mean, even one could be possibly coming out to Del Mar for the Pacific Classic. That's a possibility. Could happen. And then there's obviously the races at Saratoga that we'll be also considering. So I don't like to get too far ahead of myself. Certainly see how we run Saturday, see how the horse comes out of it health-wise, and then start picking the next spot after that.
Does he absolutely have to win on Saturday?
I mean, we don't have to win, but certainly, you know, I'm a competitive guy that never likes to lose.
Happy Saver back in that race to get the best of him, but you had said some excuses perhaps in that race as the rail was wide open for him. So maybe we won't see the jockey tactics from whoever else was on the race to let him open.
Exactly. Let's see what happens this time. But yeah, it was a little bit of a cat and mouse game in the Jockey Club Gold Cup. I'm not taking anything away from Happy Saver. He's a very good horse. Anytime you go into Belmont, you're running against Todd Pletcher in his backyard with an undefeated horse, you're up against it. So I wish them all the luck, but we're gonna try and beat them.
Michael, we've kept you for so long already, I know, and you've been such a pleasure to chat with. But I just kind of want to round out. You talk about the incredible fillies and turf horses that you've trained, and now you've got this big dirt horse who has 300 and some text messages coming in after the Dubai World Cup. What has Mystic Guide done for you personally?
Mystic Guide has made me go, it finally, you know, like I said, when I was in Dubai, I didn't want it to be about me. It was about the horse, but I kept getting questions that were directed toward me. So I said, you know, this was my chance on the world stage. And Hillary and I talked about it, and I said, we're here. It's great to be here. but we've got to win this race. We've got to, make it happen. And it was an amazing feeling for that to finally happen on that kind of a stage. It was something that I had seen happen so many times in my 40 some years on the racetrack, and I've seen other trainers do it, and it was finally my turn, and it was an amazing thing to happen.
And I'd say, yeah, and I'd say this, as I said, I think the story might just be beginning as well. I hope so. I really do. Michael, you've been so generous with your time today, and it's been great to meet you properly. And here's to Mystic Guide and more success, and Mystic Guide's little brother as well, who's
Gershwin. Yeah.
Is he running in Kent?
He's either going to run into Kent, depending on the weather. We're having heavy rains in Delaware right now, so he could either run into Kent, or we may enter him also in the Dwyer and keep our options open.
Well, I don't know what sort of trophies they give out either at the Suburban or the Kent or the Dwyer, but I did see that you got a little token after winning a costume contest during Mardi Gras, the Superior Cup, I'm told. So I hope you get something even better come Saturday.
I want to see the costume though.
Right, me too.
Yeah, but the part she's not telling you is you had to win that cup. You had to drink a lot of alcohol to win it. It wasn't really about the costume.
That makes the story even better, if you ask me.
You wouldn't have wanted to see the results of that.
Yeah.
Oh,
you woke up, you said, "Where did this come from?" No.
Actually, for the after party.
There you go.
Listen, if you're after the Puritans, don't tune into this show every week, because you'll not find them here. The best news of all is that Stephanie approves of all our endeavors over the last 70 minutes. So that makes all this worthwhile. Michael, thanks so much. Best of luck at the weekend.
Thank you,
Cheers, Michael.
It's a great show you all have. And thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. And Mark, you're great, and New Orleans will take you anytime.
Thank you so much, Michael. It means a lot. Thank you.
We're sending him there now.
Michael, thank you so much. Our pleasure. I'll see you this weekend.
Okay. Looking forward to it.
Thanks, Michael. It was only supposed to be a week, this show as well.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is I try really hard to keep this show to an hour, as you can tell when Nick gets mad at me for moving along. But sometimes you just can't. I mean, I could sit here and listen to his stories, for hours.
Well, I'll accept some blame tonight too, though. The cocktails were both yeah, exactly. I didn't help things along, but
at the end of the day, for you guys, it's whatever time it is, 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock. For me, quarter past midnight. I just roll along. I roll along with it. Whatever you want to do, I'm happy. Easy as you like. Just keep filling the glass up and saying, I hope I don't get woken up in the night.
Well, this is a fair time to mention, keep posted to all Breeders' Cup social channels, because we might be adjusting the time and day of cocktails and conversation. So just keep alert, and we will let you know. We'll give you, well in advance notice of any sort of changes that might be coming.
No show next week, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what my boss is.
No show next week. I think we're back on the 15th.
Really? Oh, yes, we are. Oh, Haskell on NBC is
the end of that week,
isn't it? 17th, but also we have opening weekend at Del Mar, and there were some requests for track announcer Trevor Denman, who would be epic.
Definitely. I think we should get him to read out all the names of horses we've created as well. Yes. And it's Gentle Muddle. Yeah.
Also, coming up this weekend. So next show day is July 15th. This weekend, winning you're in for the Breeders' Cup Classic is the Suburban, the John A. Nehrude on Sunday. That's a winning you're in for the Breeders' Cup Sprint. And how about this? Ticket sales. Put this on the calendar, July 16th. Breeders' Cup at Del Mar,
Very good.
100% capacity.
Is it
Awesome.
really?
Yes, how amazing is that? Coming from a
Wow.
Breeders' Cup at Keeneland where we could not have fans. Thankfully, it will be returning to Keeneland next year. But yes, 100% seated capacity at Del Mar.
100% seated capacity. Tickets on sale July 16th. Happy days. Can you get me a ticket?
I think so. I think I know somebody.
Know anyone who can get me a ticket? I'm in.
Maybe a few people. All right. Guys, this was great. I've missed you all.
Yeah.
Me too. Yeah, this was awesome.
So no show next week. I'm in Newmarket next week for the July Festival. Looking forward to that. And then we're back the weekend after that. You're in Belmont Park for the Suburban Saturday, Nearwood Sunday. Yes?
Yep. Correct.
Happy day. I'll be tuning in for that as well. Mark, you'll be back with me in 2 weeks' time.
I'll be here. That's we're going to trade off. So that's my birthday is the 15th. And I think that's a year ago that I made some slip up on lemons or something. So who knows what could happen? Well, I'm sure we'll have some fun comments. But I don't know. I think we need to.
It's ridiculous.
Oh, I wish, Nick. But I think we should sell your birthday video online or something because that was priceless. That was incredible.
You can have it for nothing. It's yours for nothing.
All right.
We're out. We're out, team. I reckon we're out. We're done. Thanks
Go
so much.
out with Mystic Guide. How about that?
We'll go out with Mystic Guide. Miss you guys. Here's Mystic Guide. Goodbye.
Cheers, guys.
And it's Mystic Guide going up to challenge Hypothetical. Then Flavio's Top Sure Wizard continues to come on. Then Magnicor. Jesus' team are down the outside. But Mystic Guide races away in the cup. Inside the 200 metres mark. Gets away by 3. Sure Wizard, Hypothetical, Salute the Soldier, Magnicor. But it's going to be a Godolphin win. A Godolphin USA win. Mystic Guide charges away and takes the Dubai World Cup. Mystic Guide wins